Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated. I'm so excited today. One of the things I love to do with this program is to help shine a light on inspirational, heartwarming stories. And I've got one of those today. So, with me, I've got the father of Bowen Hammitt, Matt. So, welcome, Matt.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit about the new documentary, Bowen's Heart, that came out on July the 14th. But I want to give you a chance to kind of explain what that is. Tell me a little bit about yourself, your family, Bowen, why this documentary is so important.
Yeah. So, man, I guess it kind of starts with me and my life as a musician. So I started a band in high school with some friends called Sanctus Real. We
Yeah.
signed with Capital Christian Music Group. And so from 2000 to about, for me, 2016, I toured and made albums with the band.
Yeah.
So in 2010, when my wife Sarah and I were pregnant with our third baby, I was out on the road, out touring, and we happened at the time to have a number one song on the Christian radio formats worldwide. And so what happened, is we found out in April 2010 that baby only had half of his heart.
Yeah.
And while this is during like a 20-week ultrasound. And so from April to September, when he was due, we really had like all these radio stations telling our story and wanted to talk about what we were going through and
Yeah.
how Bone was doing. And then even after his birth in September in 2010, it was like still people just wanted to hear his story. And then around Thanksgiving that year, when we took him home from the hospital after his first open heart surgery, ABC World News ran a big story on it. It
Yeah.
was their Thanksgiving story. So what happened was we kind of got plunged into this world of all these families who not only had kids with heart disease, but also became our blog and such kind of became a place for people to go who had just been diagnosed with kids with heart disease because they didn't know what to expect. And they'd
Right.
say, how does this affect your marriage? How does this affect your family? How do we prepare to go through this at the hospital? And all these questions. And so, years into this journey, when it came time for Bowen's third open heart surgery, we thought, well, maybe we just show people what it's like. Maybe we just let them into the process, and maybe that's a better way to help people, not only to bring awareness to heart disease, but to help other families know they're not
Yeah.
alone and give them some practical, like things to understand, how it does affect a family. And I think the biggest thing for us was like, how do we show people how this pain can bring us together instead of tear us apart? And so hopefully it inspires some people who watch it in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just the trailer is hard to get through without tearing up. It's so emotional. What was it like going back to, when you're in those early stages, that first trimester and those early stages of pregnancy, and you're finding out that early, what is that like? Because then you have all this time just to me to imagine the worst.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely is like a lot of helplessness in terms of, as a parent, you want to fix things with your
Yeah.
kids. At that time, there's nothing we could do except for just wait and pray and hope. I mean, it was a really difficult time in the sense that we didn't know what to expect. However, what really helped out, I mean, what was amazing at the time is we just had so much support. Our parents
Yeah.
were such support to us, our friends were great support to us. And, and I mean, to be really honest with you, man, it made me really empathetic towards people who go through these challenges and don't have support, don't have,
Yeah.
strong family support or good community. And so which was part of the reason that, again, we talk about, what can we do with this pain? How do we help others who don't have those things? So, and be a support to them. So I think it continually inspired us. Like, what I do think it is like, what can we do with the situation that doesn't just suck? It's like, how do we like take this thing that sucks and turn it into something good, and I think that's kind of just been our mission.
Yeah, I think that's so great, and he's doing well.
Mm-hmm. So after his third surgery, which this movie follows, he definitely is. It's the technical like repair that he needed for his condition. But he still has possibilities of heart transplant or other procedures or surgeries in the future. But at the moment, he's doing really well. And so we've been back to see the doctor, on a regular basis since then. And every time they tell us, man, his heart really couldn't look better for the condition that he's in.
That's amazing. That's amazing. How old is he now?
So now Bowen is 11 years old. When we shot the movie, he was just about to turn 9. Actually, in the movie, you see him turning 9.
Yeah.
And so that was a really crazy part of this process. I just didn't understand how long it takes for films to come out,
Right.
like get distribution, especially independent films.
Yeah.
We had no clue what we were getting ourselves into, man.
Well, and then you had this pandemic that slowed everything down.
Yes. Everything. Yeah, that's right too. Yeah, the world just stopped, and film companies were, and even distribution companies were like slashing budgets,
Yeah.
and nobody wanted to pick up new material or pay for new material. It was very interesting time to make a movie. And even for us, when we were so excited to be accepted even into like the Nashville Film Festival, and then it was like turned into like an online event. So we didn't get to go like meet people and hang out, That's okay. It was tough though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm sure it was. So Bowen, he sings a little bit. He's got a pretty nice voice. So he's kind of got that ability from you. Is that something that he wants to do more of going forward?
Yeah. So it's been really cool because we always give him the choice, say, hey man, do you want to, sing more? And how can we help with that? And part of the movie, people can see him in the process of recording some of his songs.
Yeah.
We made a little, project for him. And it was crazy, I should tell your listeners that, or audience, because I guess they're watching too. But tell them that they can actually get his music on Spotify. If they look up Bowen Hammitt, it's like on Apple, Spotify, everywhere you get music, you can listen to his stuff. And like you said, he's really talented.
He is.
And what's also really cool is that I get the chance to actually have him sing on stage with me a lot of times. So when I go out and do performances still, it's really neat to be able to tell his story and some of the things he went through, and then be able to be like, hey, do you guys want to meet Bowen? And not only have him come out, but then he like grabs that mic and he like goes after it, and everybody's like, yeah,
That's awesome.
There's a new rock star
as a dad, that has to be a great feeling.
Oh yeah. He's the new rock star. Nobody cares about me anymore, man. I'm good with it.
Has that surgery and the time since where he's been doing so well, has that changed your looking at the future, your hope for the future?
Yeah, I mean, we're very hopeful, just to see that he made it through so well, and that now he seems to be so stable,
Yeah.
And I think also there's so many advancements in medical technology, especially around the heart, that it's pretty amazing to see how quickly new technologies are coming around. So I think we're really excited to see, what happens even in the future with him. Whereas traditional treatments may have been a lot harder for patients who are older than he is. I think that these kids actually probably have a pretty bright future.
Yeah, that's so good to hear. That's so good to hear. One of the things that I really loved about the film was that it just didn't focus on Bowen. It really got into, because he's got 3 siblings, right?
Yep.
And it, it got into the whole family. And I wanted to ask you about that. Was that difficult balancing, because you don't want your other children to feel left out or not as important? How did you balance that?
Yeah, we did make, as you said, a real effort to make sure that we focused on how these issues in families affect the other kids.
Yeah.
Sometimes they can feel overshadowed or not seen. And so it was very important for us to make sure that they were seen, that they were heard.
Yeah.
And I think already we're getting so much great feedback from other families who identify with those other kids,
Yeah.
who they see, oh, I'm like Louie or I'm like Emmy or Claire. It's like they gravitate towards their story and how they felt with their roles in the family. And I really applaud Sarah for that, man, because she's always seeking so hard to make sure that we're attentive to those feelings, those frustrations, and then giving the kids like an honest, open, safe place to talk to us about those
Yeah.
feelings and not be defensive about it, but like just let them talk and let them hurt and be like, hey, you know what? You need to feel pain. We get it. And you're allowed to hurt. You're allowed to be mad. You're allowed to be frustrated. Even just recently, Bowen got a Make-A-Wish and
Oh,
he wanted a little tiny home and they gave him this little tiny home. We couldn't believe they did it. It was unreal. But like, his little brother's like, what the heck, man? This kid like gets everything. Now he gets a tiny home, gets money to Disney. Like, I mean, come on. And
yeah.
so we got to let him feel that way and process through it. And Bowen's really good about sharing though, too. So that helps.
Yeah. I think that's so great. I love that. You saw a lot of the tensions and the different emotions that everybody's going through, as you're preparing for that surgery. And I thought that was really great because a lot of times films or documentaries, they skip over that stuff. And that's the stuff I think that's so important when you're really showing, you're not just showing the positive stuff, you're showing some of the negative things that brings a family together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then like you said, it's some of those negative things that are hard really can forge amazing bonds and families.
Yeah.
But that, what we've experienced times even in our own lives, especially early on during Bowen's first two surgeries, where some of the things we went through felt like they were tearing us apart. And so we kind of learned over the course of time how to allow those things to bring us together.
Right.
And so that was another reason, like I said, that was so important for us to make this film, because we wanted to kind of model that, like, we're not together and it's like just Instagram highlight reels of like this family. It's like, oh yeah, he made it through surgery. Everybody's great. We're an awesome family. It's like, no, man, we go through a lot of stuff. We go through it. We want people to see we really were in the trenches. We
Yeah.
experienced a lot of grief, right? And we want people to see the real stuff, and that we made choices to let it bring us together, even when it wasn't easy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the film does such a terrific job of that because, like, going into the surgery, you weren't 100%. He was coming out.
Yeah,
And
we
that,
didn't know.
yeah. So you had to process all of those emotions and kind of prepare yourself.
Yeah, that's right. And a really interesting part of the story that not a lot of people know is that the producer and director, they're a couple, Zach and Lexi Reed, who worked with
Yeah.
us. They lost a child to heart disease
Oh,
in the
wow.
same hospital where Bowen was having his surgery. So you can imagine that that was also a very sensitive time for them. However, and some of the same doctors who were there when it happened.
Really?
Yeah, we wanted to kind of bring that to light at the end of the film, but that was their story that they weren't ready to tell in that way through our documentary, which we totally respected. But we knew that there was nobody better to be walking with us than them. And they're so talented, man. I mean, they were doing short documentaries for NBC Online and the Today Show, and so to get them on this film was really, I mean, really huge for us.
How did you make that connection? Did they reach out to you, or was that one that you went looking for somebody?
Yeah. So well, Sarah really kind of came up with the idea of like, man, I'm talking to these moms all the time. Maybe we make this documentary, and for all the reasons we already discussed. And we were kind of like, well, how are we going to afford it?
Right.
How are we going to plan it? Who's going to shoot it? Right. We can't really do it ourselves. And so Sarah had known Lexi through like online forums of moms who dealt with heart disease. And so she knew that Lexi did short docs for NBC, and that Zach was such a talented DP. And so she reached out to them and said, "Hey, we're thinking about this. What do you think?" And it actually was like amazing timing, because they said, "Hey, we're actually looking to pursue full-time feature documentary work."
Yeah.
And, we were able to work it out where we were able to help them enough to catapult them into a new season of life, and partner together on this. And it was just perfect timing. We had no idea how perfectly it would come together.
Yeah. That's just meant to be.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Well, and I'm assuming that process of making the documentary was probably therapeutic for them as well.
I would hope so. Yeah. I hope they didn't want to go, I hope they didn't walk away going, "Oh man, we never want to see those people again," they were great. And, their son, they had a little boy named Lincoln, who was able to be friends with our boys and hang out. And they were able to stay at the house for part of the time that we shot. And we definitely became friends and spent, they moved down to Florida. And so we don't get to see them really, but there always will be a bond there that we get to spend that time together.
Yeah, that's terrific. And one thing that I think a lot of people don't realize when you're making a film, especially a documentary, is just how much it disrupts your lives. I mean, it's exhausting.
Yeah, it really can be. And I think too, just, one of the things that was so great about Zach and Lexi is because they'd been through this sort of thing, they were so sensitive as to when they should be kind of up in the mix and when they should kind of pull back in the shadows.
Yeah, that's pretty important to have somebody that understands that, because you don't want to put extra pressure on a family that's going through it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we thought about that. We're like, okay, how do we balance living our story and telling our story?
Yeah.
Because we've got to live it and process it. It's sometimes it's like, yeah, when you're going through stuff like this, as much as, our bent is to like go toward this whole redemption thing. We talked about using this horrible situation to bring some sort of like good out of it and help others.
Yeah.
But then like, when do you like just let yourself heal? When do you let yourself process, right? Without feeling like you have to like even in the movie, we even talk about that. We talk about like, we're doing this thing and we're making this album with Bowen, and then we're doing a little CD release party. And it's like, is it okay? Would we be okay? Or can we be okay if we could just stop for a minute and live in the silence without having to go do something? Like, because that part of processing is also extremely important. And so we had to work that out too,
Yeah, it's a lot. That's a lot. Did you have I know you're a man of faith. Did you have any challenges in that area? Or did that bring up some questions, or did it actually make that stronger?
Yeah, I definitely felt like, I'd always seen other people in my life have the really hard, like, God questions, the whys,
Right.
It's like, why did this happen? And some people get very angry, and man, I get it. I understand. Like, I felt that feeling of like, okay. Like, and man, Sarah and I, even with me being on the road, it's like our life was so chaotic at that time. And we were even working through like communication issues in our marriage that I felt like we had finally kind of gotten through. And so then it was like, then this hit right after that. And I was just like, man, like, couldn't I just have like a breath, And what's the deal here? But it is interesting because I guess, as cliche as it can sound, like, one of the, I guess, the metaphors that I've heard people use over and over, but it really is true. It's like, you couldn't see the stars without the dark, right?
Yeah.
Or like, it's like that contrast of pain and joy, or victory and loss. Like, you don't know one without the other.
It's true.
So I will say that as hard as it was to go through it, I do feel like it strengthened my faith immensely, because it was like, against the backdrop of the darkness, I really did feel the light. And and it became so much more real to me. And so for me, it was a growing experience, as hard as it was.
Yeah, that's terrific. That's so great to hear. So what does the future hold for the family, for Bowen? What's next?
Yeah. So, man, you know, we ended up making we had this independent streaming platform called Liftable TV
Yeah.
ask us to do a show, like a family show. So we did a few episodes, like a 6-episode season
Oh,
of
wow.
a show called The Hammitt's Band Together. We did that. They want us to do season 2. We're trying to decide right now if we're going to do it, just their schedule. But this
Yeah.
fall, I actually have a bunch of events that I'm going to and I'm performing at, and I'm bringing Bowen and the family on a lot of those with me. And so we'll
Fun.
still be out singing, and got a couple more. I think as the platforms roll out the film, and there's more places you can view it. I think we're going to keep doing more interviews and such. And so I think this fall will be really heavily based on just trying to get the word out there about the film. But I think there's definitely probably another musical project in Bowen's future, and one for Dad too, I'm sure, at some point.
Pretty great. My oldest is big fan of Sanctus Real.
Oh, awesome. Very cool.
She kind of grew up with you guys. She's 20. She's getting ready to turn 28 now. But
That's
so
awesome.
she was
What's her name?
going as Ashley, and
Ashley.
She's raising a family of her own now. But
Awesome.
so yeah, I wanted to bring that up because I remember her. She'd go to shows and be listening. I'd be like, "What are you listening to?" She's like, "It's this group called Sanctus Real." And I was like, "Okay, that sounds pretty good."
That's cool. Well, big shout out to Ashley then.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. Has that transition been an easy one, moving from being part of a band into more of a solo career?
Yeah, I miss at times the band. So when I go out now, it's usually me and an acoustic guitar. Maybe I'll bring a keys player or something.
Yeah.
I do miss performing with the band big time when I'm on stage, because I just love that energy. I miss the camaraderie of being with the guys. But it was so much time on the road and being away from home that it's like, gosh, I never regret it because of the time that, stepping away from the road. I never regret that because of the time that
you were needed at home.
Yeah, I needed to be home. And again, I'm still doing events, but like now it's like 30 events a year as opposed to like 120 events a year.
Yeah, it's a little different.
So yeah, actually now it's kind of like Sarah's like, "Hey, you think you could book a few more things?" And
why don't you go for a little bit? Yeah, I get that. I get that. Well, Matt, thank you so much for taking a little bit of time with me today. What a story. And I'm so happy for your family, and just best of luck in the future.
Yeah. Hey, thanks so much for having me on. It really means a lot.
Yeah, of course. Oh, before you go, where can we watch Bowen's Heart?
Yeah. So you can watch it right now on Amazon. You can watch it on, let's see, Microsoft, Apple TV, YouTube Movies, Google Play, and it's free on Tubi. And then over the next couple of months, it'll roll out DirecTV, On Demand, and also the Roku channel.
Yeah, amazing. So I know Bowen's music is on Spotify. Do you have other social media that we can kind of follow along with the family?
Yep, you can find Bowen's story as it continues at Bowen's Heart on Facebook and on Instagram. And then if people want to follow what I'm doing, it's just Matt Hammitt. And that's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Terrific. Well, thank you so much, Matt. And you'll have to come back, give us an update down the road.
Hey, I'm all about it. That'd be great.
Okay. All right. Hold on one second. All right. So that was Matt Hammitt. And I hope you guys enjoyed that story. And we really were just hitting some of the highlights. It's an amazing story and journey, not just for Bowen, who is just a courageous young man, but for the entire Hammitt family. So I hope you'll find Bowen's Heart and watch it. It's I tell you what, though, bring some Kleenex. It's inspiring. It's heartwarming, but it'll tear you up. It's emotional, but definitely worth your time. So please check that out. If you haven't done so yet, you can help us out. We want to keep bringing these type of stories along with the terrific interviews that we get to do in the entertainment world to you. And in order to do that, we need subscribers, because that helps us. We go to people, we say, hey, this is the base that we can offer. These are the people we can bring on the show. Would you like to come on? And that really helps us out. So if you haven't yet and you're watching, please subscribe. YouTube MeisterCon Pod. If you're listening, same thing. Whatever device you're listening on, please subscribe to us. It really does make a big difference, and it's free. And I can't believe it, but we have 500 episodes in sight. We started this 3.5 years ago. I never would have imagined that we would be at 500 episodes, but here we are. So I hope you guys have enjoyed that. You can also find all of those episodes, audio and video, on our website, meistercon.com. So definitely check us out there. If we're doing anything in studio, if we're going on location, if we're covering a convention, whatever we got going on, it'll be on the website, meistercon.com. Thank you guys so much. Until next time. Bye, everybody.